Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Good morning, students. Welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. The topic of the day is Unit 1, the French Revolution and the Idea of Nation. In the previous lesson, we discussed the dream of Souriau, a world made up of democratic and social republics, which he had very nicely put on his canvas. We had also discussed the concept of modern state and nation states. Now, to continue the story further, French Revolution is the most convenient starting point. French Revolution paved the way for the modern nation states and also played a big role in the birth of nationalism. The first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. The most important political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of the French Revolution was the transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to a body of French citizens. That means, in simple words, the power shifted from the king to the hands of people. The revolution proclaimed that it was the people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny. Students, we know that France became a full-fledged territorial state by 1789 under the rule of an absolute monarch. And now people got rid of monarch. But as required in case of nation states, do the people have a sense of collective identity? So from the very beginning, the French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices that could create a sense of collective identity amongst the French people. And this is a very important question too from the examination point of view. The question will be, what measures were taken by the revolutionaries to create a sense of collective identity among the French people? The idea of La Patrie and Les Citoyens emphasized the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. Actually, La Patrie, fatherland, it is a concept of motherland, it is a concept of homeland, be it motherland or fatherland, because that binds people to their nation and you feel more attached to your nation. You feel this is the place where you took birth, where you grew up and your ancestors lived for generations, and so you regard it as your home. In our context also, we can see we Indians consider our country as motherland. As far as Les Citoyens is concerned, it was used as a form of address during the French Revolution, you all remember. This was done to practice equality through the forms of speech or address. People were not the subjects of a king now they were the citizens of France, enjoying equal rights under a constitution. The concept of citoyen and citoyenne, if you remember, was introduced during the Robespierre's government itself. A new French flag, the tricolor, was chosen to replace the royal standard. A royal standard means it is normally an emblem of royal authority, that is usually a flag. So you can see the royal standard of the Bourbon in the slide, and you can also see the tricolor chosen by them. The States General was elected by the body of active citizens and renamed the National Assembly. In fact, on 20th June 1789 itself, if you recall your class 9, from the tennis court itself, the third state, led by Mirabeau and Abbé Sieyès, declared themselves the National Assembly. Thereafter, it no more remained the States General of the three states, but an assembly of the people. Later on, as you know, Louis XVI also gave recognition to this assembly. This assembly, you can say National Constituent Assembly, drafted the Constitution of 1791. This Constitution of 1791 then vested the power to make laws in the National Assembly, which was to be elected indirectly, and the concept of all active and passive citizens. New hymns were composed and oaths taken and martyrs commemorated, all in the name of nation. To commemorate means to remember and show respect for a person or an event that has taken place in the past. From the fall of the Bastille in 1789 to the coming of the Napoleon 10 years later, the commemoration of dead was a recurring theme during the French Revolution. So all those who laid their lives during the revolution were remembered, including those who were killed during the Reign of Terror by Robespierre. Hymns were also composed. Hymns, anything that is sung in the praise of God is called hymn. So hymns were also composed. When France declared war on Austria in 1792, the mayor of Strasbourg expressed the need of a marching song for the French troops, and Marseillaise was the response to the call. This later became the national anthem of France. Such hymns or songs express the patriotic sentiments of the people. A centralized administrative system was put in place, and it formulated uniform laws for all citizens within its territory. Now, there were no different laws for different classes of people. Equality before law was established. Students, you may not know about a law called the sumptuary laws. They were a set of laws which prevailed in the French society from 1294 to 1789. These laws restricted the third state from consuming some of the foods and beverages. According to these laws, a person could purchase clothes in France not according to his income but according to his social rank. Only people belonging to the royal households and nobility could wear clothes made out of expensive materials like silk or velvet, while the lower classes were forced to wear clothes made from cheap materials. Now you can understand why the members of the Jacobins Club proudly called themselves sans-culottes, why they wore loose and comfortable clothes. Because this distinguished them from the men belonging to the higher class and royal families, who wore knee breeches. Actually, this was a kind of reaction against such laws, such discriminatory laws. If you can recall class 9 properly, you will be able to reconnect in a better way. With the French Revolution, all such laws relating to distinction of dress or food were abolished by the National Assembly. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished, and a uniform system of weights and measures was adopted. So internal custom duties, whichever custom duties was charged when crossing between the different regions of France, that was abolished. As far as the weights and measures are concerned, the system of weighing and measuring items, it was very confusing in the old regime. France used more than 100 different ways of dividing and measuring land. Units of weights and measurements were usually determined by the local custom or city officials. Standards were fixed locally. For example, the length for rope, cloth or building materials were measured against a beam at a town market or markings on the cathedral wall. Weights were often determined by containers, baskets, barrels, etc., but the size of these varied from place to place. This lack of national standards and consistency was particularly frustrating for merchants, importers, and wholesalers who traded in different regions. So, a new system of weights and measures called the metric system was established. Regional dialects were discouraged, and French, as spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. Prior to French Revolution of 1789, French kings did not take a strong position on the language spoken by their subjects. As late as 1789, the year of revolution, it was estimated that about half of the people in France spoke French. Others spoke dialects of France, which included, Acadian French, Belgian French, Louisiana French, Quebec French, and many others. So the French revolutionaries imposed French a common language and discouraged the use of dialects. Students, you will be surprised to know that today French is an official language in 29 countries across multiple continents. French is also one of the 6 official languages used in the United Nations. So this is a complete answer to the question that I referred to you before. that the steps taken by the French revolutionaries to create a sense of collective identity among the French people. You read it again before I proceed to the next topic. Okay. The revolutionaries did not stop here. They further declared that it was the mission and the destiny of the French people to liberate the people of Europe from despotism, in other words, to help the people of Europe. Despotism means the exercise of absolute power, especially in a cruel and oppressive way. This word comes to us very often. So, what was the effect of French Revolution in other countries? When the news of the events of France reached the different parts or different cities of Europe, students and other members of educated middle classes began setting up Jacobins Club. In the same manner, the Jacobins Club were set up in France. Their activities and campaigns prepared the way for the French armies which moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland and much of Italy in the 1790s. With the outbreak of the Revolutionary Wars, the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. The revolutionary armies carried the slogan of liberty, equality and fraternity and the ideas of liberalism and national self-determination. With the vast territory that came under the control of Napoleon, Napoleon set about introducing many of the reforms that he had already introduced in France. Students, you all know that Napoleon crowned himself emperor in 1804. Through a return to monarchy, Napoleon no doubt destroyed democracy in France, but in the administrative field he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. Here I am going to start yet another important question. Explain the revolutionary principles incorporated by Napoleon in the administration of France. Firstly, Napoleon introduced the Civil Code of 1804. Different laws were prevalent in France, but there had been no definite code. Napoleon took special pains to get the code prepared. This code is therefore known as Napoleonic Code. This code did away with all the privileges based on birth, established equality before the law, and secured right to property. This code was then also exported to the regions under French control. Secondly, Napoleon simplified administrative divisions, abolished the feudal system and freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues. In Germany, for example, we will read in the next subunit, Napoleon created a confederation of 39 states out of countless small principalities in Germany. Thus, he simplified administrative divisions. It is difficult to explain the system of feudalism here, students, but I will try to give you an idea of it. It will help you to understand serfdom and manorial dues clearly because all of them are a part of the feudal system. Students, you can see on the screen how the feudal society was organized. At the top of the feudal society was the king. To protect his kingdom and its people, he needed fighting men. He built his army by granting land to men of his kingdom. This land grant was called a fief. The person who received a fief was called a vassal. The king was his lord. In return for this great gift, the vassal supplied the king with soldiers called knights. Each vassal had to lend his knights to his lord whenever asked. Vassals also had to pay their lords money on special occasions, such as the wedding of a lord's family member. And if the lord was captured in a war, his vassals had to pay for his release. Lords, on the other hand, had to protect their vassals and their fiefs. The lords and the leading knights of fiefs lived in large houses called manors. Manors with defensive walls of stone were called castles. A typical manor house was surrounded by stables, barns, fields, and pastures. Most of the people who worked in these places were poor peasants. These poor people made up most of the population of the medieval Europe. The relationship between a local lord and his workers formed the manorial system. Manorial word comes from manor. Kings and wealthy feudal lords needed many loyal laborers. Otherwise, there would have been no one to grow and harvest the crops. Many peasants also fought as foot soldiers in wars waged by the nobles. Many peasants were serfs. They were not slaves. So, they could not be bought or sold like land. But they were not exactly free either. Serfs were almost totally dependent on their lords for protection and making a living. They could not move from one place or job to another without permission. The serfs worked a number of days each month in the lord's fiefs. They also cut firewood for the lord's house. They raised his livestock and repaired the manor house. In addition, most serfs had to provide the lord with a share of his crops at harvest time. In return, they had a safe place to live and they had a little land to farm for themselves. I think now this hierarchy from the king down to the peasants will help you understand the feudal system, manor and the serfdom. This feudal system is of course not a part of your syllabus. Let's come back to our topic. In the town system too, guild restrictions were removed. Transport and communication systems were improved. Peasants, artisans, workers and new businessmen enjoyed a newfound freedom. Fifthly, he introduced uniform laws, standardized weights and measures and a common national currency. Businessmen and small-scale producers of goods in particular began to realize that these measures would facilitate the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to another. Students, Napoleon needed money and soldiers to conquest the rest of Europe to fulfill his imperialistic ambitions. So he increased the taxes and started forced conscription into the French army. He imposed censorship. Many of the newspapers closed during this period. So the people who once happily welcomed Napoleon slowly became hostile to them. Students, now you should be able to answer these questions. 1. What was the major change that occurred in the political and constitutional scenario due to French Revolution in Europe? The answer is transfer of sovereignty from a monarchy to the body of French citizen. Question number 2. Explain the measures and practices which created the sense of collective identity among the French people. Or how did French revolutionaries created a sense of collective identity amongst the French people? This is the important question which I was referring to you in the beginning of the lesson. So it is a big answer where we have discussed about the idea of La Patrie, Les Citoyens. We have spoken about the French flag. We have spoken about the National Assembly. We have spoken about the new hymns. We have spoken about the central administrative system and the use of French as a national language. So you will include all these things in your answer. Question number 3. Napoleon had destroyed democracy in France, but in the administrative field he had incorporated revolutionary principles. Justify the answer. This is the second important question that I told you in the lesson. Here you will answer that he modernized traditional institutions to make state more efficient, strong. Okay. He introduced uniform civil code in 1804. He simplified administrative divisions, abolished the feudal systems. He improved the transport and communication systems. So all these things will make part of this answer. State the provisions of the Civil Code of 1804. The Civil Code of 1804, also called Napoleonic Code, it did away with all the privileges based on birth. It established equality before law. It secured the right to freedom, right to property, right to property. It abolished feudal system, freed the peasants from serfdom and manorial dues, guild system removed, transport and communications were improved. You can make a part of this answer. Question number 5. Name the countries that were conquered by Napoleon. So the countries conquered by Napoleon will be Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy. Why did the local populations in conquered areas not like the new changes imposed by France? People started to realize that they have lost their political freedom. They liked the new administrative changes brought by Napoleon, but not at the cost of political freedom. In addition, when Napoleon imposed taxes, when Napoleon started to recruit the people for French army and started censorship, people became unhappy. Thus, students, we conclude the topic of the day. How did nationalism and the idea of national states emerge in Europe? We will see in the next class. For any queries, you can use the comment section, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.